the player card. So this is Justin Karras. You see his team here: Salamence, Kyogre, Xerneas, Bronzong, Infernape, and Amoonguss. And Justin's a player who is so new to the scene. I don't think I've really ever seen this before. A player who jumps into the scene immediately with practically no accomplishments on the regional, national, world level. I believe, he was able to qualify for Worlds just by getting top 32 in multiple regional championships and going to some premier challenges, but not anything, a finish that people really remember for. So the fact that his first World Championship, he's in the top 8 right now, that's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. And for those watching at home, it kind of gives you maybe the hope that you can also someday kind of be in Justin's shoes here. But we take a look at Wolf. I mean, look at those accomplishments. 4-time Worlds competitor, multiple-time national champion, 5-time regional champion, and this doesn't even include those times where he has top cut at Worlds. Came very close to winning one year in 2012 where he lost in the finals.
Yeah.
And then we look at his team: Gengar, Hitmontop, Rayquaza, Kyogre, Raichu, and Bronzong. A team we have seen quite a bit here this weekend. Wolf and his two German friends, Barris and Marcus, also using this team. So this is a team all three of them have worked on. They feel very confident in the team, and they feel that's kind of what breaks the metagame open, and they don't think these other players can really handle this new kind of strategy that they're introducing.
Right, and there's a reason that all three of them are in the top 8, right? That's actually incredible that 3 players in the top 8 are using a team that's really far removed from anything we've really seen this year. I think we've seen a lot of interesting Rayquaza Kyogre combinations, but I feel like this team kind of gives a new life into it because of the Intimidate and the Eject button from Hitmontop and the Assault Vest Raichu, which is able to take damage, take those Water Spout or Origin Pulses in and also be able to Volt Switch out.
Exactly. We saw kind of the Rayquaza Kyogre teams that were popular at US Nationals. They were a lot more straightforward,
right,
whereas this kind of gives the player a lot more options to kind of control the game. It's more of a control style team rather than just an aggressive team. That's kind of how I would categorize that Kyogre team that we saw at US Nationals, where you had Crobat, Gengar, Mawile, much more aggressive Pokemon, whereas here you've got a ton of switching. You've got the Intimidate, an Assault Vest on Raichu, a Volt Switch. You're always going to feel like you're the one in control, and that's, as Wolf, as a player, he certainly likes that. Marcus and Barris as well. So it looks like we're going to hop into game right here.
We are going to get into it. We're going to see the Salamence and Xerneas lead here from Justin, as Wolfie goes with Raichu and Rayquaza. Wolfie Glitz team, of course, is that Kyogre, Hitmontop, Gengar, Raichu, Rayquaza, and Bronzong. Justin Karras is running Infernape, Xerneas, Amoonguss, Salamence, Bronzong, and Kyogre. So you do get the Intimidate right from the start, and I do feel like, Xerneas is a pretty good Pokemon against both of these Pokemon, especially after the Intimidate.
It definitely is. It does have to watch out for Nuzzle from Raichu, though, because that will paralyze it. And Raichu, of course, also exerts Fake-Out pressure. But Salamence has a very good matchup into Rayquaza because it will always be faster on this first turn. When neither Pokemon have Mega Evolved, Salamence will be faster. And then after they both Mega Evolve, Salamence will still be faster. So I really like Salamence in this matchup against Rayquaza.
Definitely. And for that exact reason, we actually see Rayquaza swap out for the Bronzong, which I think is actually one of the best Pokemon in the format you can have in this position.
Yeah, against a Xerneas and a Salamence, Bronzong, a great switch in.
We do see the Fake Out go into Xerneas, so no potential Geomancy, Moonblast, or Dazzling Gleam. Hyper Voice comes out, but because of the Assault Vest on Raichu, takes that so well, and Bronzong basically takes minimal damage. So Wolf is able to maneuver himself from a lead matchup that looked really bad to a position that looks much better now that Bronzong is exerting a Gyro Ball pressure.
And that's one of the big advantages of Wolf's team, because you see he loves to switch and take advantage of resistances, and then of course the bulk and item on Raichu making it kind of bulky. It lets him get into a position where it eventually will be favorable for him. Last turn, not too favorable. This turn looks a lot better, and of course Raichu can always switch or even use Volt Switch to get Wolf into an even better position.
Absolutely, and it's weird that, you look at Bronzong Raichu matched up against Xerneas and Salamence, and normally you wouldn't think that there's too much offensive presence there, but Bronzong with that Gyro Ball hits super effective against Xerneas, and Raichu, like you mentioned, does have that Nuzzle. We actually see the Salamence swap out here into Amoonguss, just realizing I want to conserve that Salamence because it has such a good matchup against the Rayquaza. Xerneas here is going to protect itself, so kind of similar to what Wolf did that first turn, just move and get himself into a better position. But Wolf actually makes a great play here by going for the Volt Switch onto the Raichu, which is going to allow him to maybe bring the Rayquaza back in.
Yeah, it's a big advantage of Volt Switch because you get to choose what comes in for your switch-in after your opponent has already made their switch-in decision.
Right.
So it gives you more time to kind of react to the field and put yourself in a great position. So that's why moves like Volt Switch and U-Turn and even the Eject button on Hitmontop serves a similar purpose to allow Wolf to adjust mid-turn to what he needs on the field to get himself into the best position possible.
Yeah, and the Rayquaza is going to come back in. That's a huge threat onto the Amoonguss with that super effective Dragon Ascent attack here. So Rayquaza is going to come in. Bronzong is going to Gyro Ball into Xerneas, which did protect itself. So, kind of a similar position where Justin now made the switch out to try to get himself into a better position, but Wolf, instead of targeting the Xerneas, did go for the Volt switch onto the Amoonguss. Now he at least has some more offensive presence with the Rayquaza. We have seen that Rayquaza carry the Focus Sash as well, which could be a big deal.
Yeah, so Rayquaza does threaten a KO on the Amoonguss. Of course, Justin may want to switch that out. But even if he does get a Dragon Ascent onto Amoonguss, knocking it out, and then Xerneas does go for, say, a Dazzling Gleam, Rayquaza does have that Sash, and then Bronzong can get a Gyro Ball onto the Xerneas, doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, and here's the Mega Evolution from Rayquaza. No switch outs from either Pokemon here. Amoonguss goes for the Protect. Does Wolfie read into this, or does he just go for a Dragon Ascent into it? Dragon Ascent comes out, does target down the Xerneas. What a play here from Wolfie Glig. That's going to do so much damage. Probably not going to knock it out, but might put it in Gyro Ball.
Yeah,
KO
exactly.
range.
So now you have to imagine Bronzong also targeted that slot, so that could pick up a key knockout for Wolf.
Here's the Dazzling Gleam from Xerneas. Going to be a really strong attack, but as we already know, that Rayquaza does have the Focus Sash. That's going to be able to hang on from 1 HP. It's a key survival, because if the Rayquaza goes down, then Amoonguss actually has a phenomenal matchup against the remainder of Wolf's team. Gyro Ball comes out. It's going to be able to most likely pick up the knockout here onto Xerneas, and that was a really great prediction there by Wolfie.
Yeah, very well played by Wolf. He recognized he had to take that Xerneas down because of how much it threatens the Rayquaza. Of course, against Raichu as well. Raichu can't really deal much damage to Xerneas, so being able to out-predict Justin, not only is it a good outcome for this turn, but it kind of gets into his head that, hey, Wolf is the one in control. You're the one who needs to react to me.
Absolutely. So we see the Salamence come back, and I think that this actually puts Justin still in a pretty okay position. A lot of it hinges off what Bronzong kind of has as attacks, but honestly, Salamence and Amoonguss puts in a ton of work against the remainder of Wolfie's team.
Yeah, definitely does, because there's not going to be a way to hit this Salamence with Amoonguss as its ally, and Ice Beam from a Kyogre won't be able to hit that Salamence. It'll have to go on that Amoonguss, assuming it goes for the Rage Powder. Bronzong, against a Pokemon that's fast like Salamence, you want to set up Trick Room, but with Amoonguss out there, you can't really go and set up Trick Room, or else you're just making Amoonguss even more threatening.
And we do see the switch out back into Raichu, perhaps the safest switch here for Wolf, knowing that he's got the Assault Vest. We do see a Hyper Voice just come out, so going to be able to chip away a little bit in terms of damage. Once again, not doing very much. But here's the Safeguard. That's a big play here. It's going to reduce, not allow the Spore to happen here, and that's a big advantage. I think if there was no Safeguard there, Amoonguss and Salamence could maybe just run away with the game just by sporing and attacking.
Yeah, definitely. I think Amoonguss and Salamence, based on what Wolf brought this game, I think they certainly could have been able to carry the rest of this game, despite losing Xerneas so easily there. But now at least Safeguard does give Wolf an opportunity, but still, even a Rage Powder alongside Salamence, even without the threat of Spore, does give Wolf an advantage. But of course, now that Safeguard's up, Bronzong is a little more free to set up Trick Room. Doesn't have to worry about Amoonguss just sporing everything before Wolf even gets a chance to move.
Right, and with that Assault Vest, we see that Bronzong and Raichu both take so little damage, but Bronzong does switch out here. Is Justin able to capitalize? It's going to be that Kyogre coming in here. It's going to be able to set up the Rain as well. Neither of these trainers obviously have Groudon, so Rain is something that is either going to be on the field for the entire game or just neutral weather. But Kyogre here is going to be able to come in. It's going to be able to come in here. So let's see really what the Raichu does. Maybe we see a Rage Powder to redirect a potential Muzzle from that Salamence. Ooh, a switch out though. It's not going to be a Rage Powder. This is potentially risky here. We do see Kyogre come out from Justin's and hasn't come out yet, making its first appearance. So both Kyogres coming out. Let's see if Wolf is able to capitalize off this position. The Amoonguss at this point is still somewhat of a threat because it could potentially go for Grass Knots or Giga Drains, but Justin realizing, okay, I can't spore anymore. Let's just try to get some damage off. Fake Out goes onto the Salamence. Not too much of a surprise there, and it's basically going to be a null turn with some switches.
Yeah, it's nice to get Kyogre in, but at the same time, you're against a Raichu, which threatens Volt Switch, although that shouldn't do too much damage. Kyogre has massive special defense.
Right.
Nuzzle, of course, also threatens not damage on either of these Pokemon, but paralysis. Being able to make Salamence slower than Wolf's Rayquaza in the back, and of course that Kyogre with Ice Beam could certainly be key, so Justin definitely needs to watch out for that. I kind of would rather him have Amoonguss in, because it's just such... it's much better in this matchup, even if it can't Spore. Just Rage Powder itself is just so useful in this situation.
Double does so much damage, probably a 2 KO on both of these Pokemon.
Yeah, definitely.
But, still not the worst positioning here, because I think, like you said, Wolf's Raichu is actually more supportive, right? It doesn't have any attack that can do so much damage to Kyogre. Maybe it has a super effective, we do see, electric type attacks, but it can't do anything like a huge Volt Tackle. Here's the Endeavor, though, and it does target down that Kyogre. It brings it down to 80 HP. Ice Beam goes into the Salamence, and here's a Water Spout coming out from Kyogre, but, we do know that Raichu does have the Assault Vest. Can it hang on? It does hang on. Wow.
Yeah, so Wolf really kind of getting in Justin's head maybe. He's out-predicting him a lot of these turns. He doesn't really have a team matchup-wise, he's not really in a great position team matchup-wise when you have the Salamence and Amoonguss in at the same time. But when Justin switched out that Amoonguss, it gives Wolf a lot more opportunity here to just take advantage, because Salamence can't let itself get paralyzed, and then having Kyogre get its HP reduced so low that Water Spout just not doing enough damage at all to that Assault Vest Raichu, and of course Kyogre resists it. I think Justin certainly could have... I think he would have been better off simply keeping Amoonguss in.
Yep.
Who cares about Safeguard?
Just keep on Rage Powder and
Rage
Double Edge.
Powder, Double Edge. I just think that was the way to go for Justin.
Yeah, and this is really tricky, right? Because Salamence just went for Protect, and so now this turn it's going to have to force a switch out. But Salamence Amoonguss is kind of the perfect position and perfect kind of duo you want.
And you lose that now because Amoonguss is, coming in now with Kyogre, potentially going to take a hit here from this Kyogre on Wolf's side.
You see the Raichu switch out. Here's an Ice Beam, and of course Amoonguss doesn't really like taking Ice Beam either.
No.
Still going to do so much damage. Oh, does over 50% and gets the freeze. Oh
wow.
my gosh. Okay.
Lumberry.
So, not the end of the world, and we do see a Scald come out from that Kyogre. Who is it going to target down? Going to target down the Kyogre, maybe fishing for a burn or putting it in Double Edge KO range.
Yeah, I'd say probably going for that Double Edge KO range. Of course, a burn would have been nice as well, but I imagine he's mostly going for that Scald onto the Kyogre because he wants to put it in Double Edge KO range, because Kyogre can one-hit KO Salamence in return with an Ice Beam. But now, look, that Ice Beam onto Amoonguss did over half, so Amoonguss can't take another one. You can't switch it out and take advantage of Regenerator because it'll be Salamence coming in. He can't take an Ice Beam. Justin really needed to keep Amoonguss and Salamence in at the same time. You can't have them broken up like he does here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, if Amoonguss just stayed in, the thing is, you can Double Edge the Kyogre before the Amoonguss takes the Ice Beam. So then the next turn, you just Rage Powder Double Edge again, and even if Raichu goes for something, Raichu doesn't do anything in terms
and
of
there's
damage.
no way for Raichu to be able to affect Salamence because there's no way to bypass Rage Powder with a move that's going to target both Pokemon.
Just to protect from Amoonguss, though, Kyogre probably going to try to just use a Water type attack. Wolf's Kyogre is going to go for that Water Spout. Is it going to be able to knock out Justin's Kyogre? Most likely not. Only does around under 50% of the health it was at. We are going to see another Scald come out from Justin's Kyogre. Going to target down that Bronzong. That's going to be enough to pick up the knockout. But we do see that Wolf's Kyogre is faster than Justin's, and of course the Rayquaza could just come back in, or Raichu, but I think Rayquaza is a pretty fine Pokemon to bring in right now.
Yeah, I think so too, but I don't think it's over yet. Justin does still have the potential to win. If he can weaken Wolf's Pokemon low enough, his Salamence will still be the fastest on the field. If he can get them low enough so that a Hyper Voice would be able to KO all of them, then he can simply just go for that spread move. But again, look at Kyogre's HP. It is still just above half, so Justin does still need a little bit more damage onto it, and he might not be able to get that damage onto it if Wolf brings in the Rayquaza, because then he threatens KOs on both of these Pokemon.
Yeah, and you have to remember that time is counting down quickly as well. With only under 5 minutes of the game, it still could go to either play, honestly, under time, because of the fact that Rayquaza is actually at 1 HP and that Raichu is a little bit low. So I think time could work in both players' favor right now, but we do see the Rayquaza come in. The Rayquaza is going to be able to come in, is going to be able to set up the Delta Stream. Not going to matter too much. The only thing that really includes is reducing the super effective water type attacks. I guess it
does kind of matter to try and help Justin's Kyogre survive Wolf's water move from his Kyogre, but assuming the Rayquaza knocks out Amoonguss, then it would get full single target power if Wolf were to go for an Origin Pulse or a Water Spout. But if Justin protects the Amoonguss, that does give Kyogre the opportunity. So you have to imagine Wolf targets the Kyogre slot with his Rayquaza because, it forces Justin to Rage Powder, because if he does protect, he one-hit KOs the Kyogre. If he gets Rage Powdered, then that KOs the Amoonguss, and then Kyogre KOs the Kyogre. So it's a win-win situation for Wolf if he simply targets the Kyogre, but that's kind of Justin's only out. He has to hope Wolf, makes a misplay.
I mean, something interesting here is you could actually go for the Rage Powder to take that Dragon Ascent and Ice Beam to knock out the Rayquaza, because we actually see the Protect coming out here. Okay. Kyogre here is going to protect itself. Let's see what Amoonguss does. Extreme Speed going onto the Kyogre, but Ice Beam is just going to come out and target down the Amoonguss, and that's probably going to be a pick up a knockout unless it's able to survive. Not going to be able to pull that off.
That was interesting, though. If Amoonguss would have went for the Rage Powder, Extreme Speed would not have been able to finish it off. So that was actually the misplay that Justin was hoping to see, because that would have allowed Justin's Kyogre to actually get a KO onto the Rayquaza.
Exactly, and once you get the KO onto Rayquaza, that Kyogre might be even in Double Edge KO range.
Exactly.
But, this is a little bit trickier now, right? We know that Wolf's Kyogre is faster. Still not over, because of the fact that Rayquaza's Dragon Ascent might not be able to knock out Salamence, but Timer, once again, still is a thing that Kyogre is going to be the slowest Pokemon on Justin's side of the field.
Yeah, and Wolf's Raichu in the back does have fake out, so that's another way to keep the timer going and keep Wolf to win. Even though his Rayquaza's at 1 HP, even the Raichu has a sliver of HP left. If you're Justin, though, I think you just have to go for the double edge on Kyogre.
Absolutely.
Because a Hyper Voice will simply lose you the game.
Right, but maybe you predict a Protect. I think one of the scary things about here is that timer is such a real thing. You don't know really how it's playing into your favor, and it's just each turn, like, you only have so much time to think. And we're really going to get into this, but it feels like Justin had this matchup, especially in terms of the team. Oh, here's an Extreme Speed coming out, though. Can that knock out Rayquaza? I don't think so. Oh, it does actually pick up the knockout.
Wow, that's big for Wolf, because if that Kyogre would have been able to take that Extreme Speed, that would have been huge. Justin would have won this game.
Picks up the knockout there onto Kyogre, though.
So it's going to come down to time, because Salamence is the fastest on the field, and Hyper Voice would be able to pick up the KO on Rayquaza, and then likely the Raichu as well. And Raichu can't really do any damage here. It's not faster than the Mega Salamence. It does get the fake out pressure. So, if Wolf can fake out the Salamence, Beta Protect, and then maybe go for... I don't know, there's not really much, because Raichu's Assault Vest, so it can't even protect on its own.
Right. I mean, that's why I wanted to see the Rage Powder from Amoonguss that turn instead of the Protect, and just take, why sack Amoonguss? At least make something out of it. If you go for the Rage Powder, at least you kind of play some mind games. And Rayquaza there didn't protect.
Exactly.
So the Ice Beam picks up the knockout. Now it's Salamence. We did see it knock out the Kyogre, and actually I don't think Raichu has enough firepower to deal with the Salamence.
No, because it doesn't have a move like Volt Tackle. It's only got more supportive moves like Volt Switch and Nuzzle. But we see Wolf playing the timer, because that is, he's got 2 Pokemon left, even though they've hardly got any HP left. That's what he's going for. That's his win condition here. As long as he gets the fake out here to waste some time, that's going to be 45 seconds, and then only like 20 seconds will remain. Salamence won't have enough time to get the Hyper Voice off, pick up the double knockout, so Wolf should be able to take this by time.
Justin just needed literally 30 extra seconds.
Yeah, because Justin has this match in the bag, but because, Wolf playing to his outs, so, props to Wolf for recognizing that. Justin certainly could have played that match differently. I would have loved to see Amoonguss just stay in and get a Rage Powder off earlier.
Right.
And then even Wolf, maybe made a misplay there going for that Extreme Speed into that Kyogre slot. If Amoonguss would have Rage Powder that turn as well, that would have allowed Kyogre to pick up the knockout on Rayquaza. So there were a couple of things both players could have done differently. But Wolf certainly happy to pick up the win, because that's what counts.
Yep, so the fake out goes into it, Dragonsing comes out into it, and if Justin had 27 more seconds, he would have won this match.
Yep, it's a shame to see, but it just shows how close and how evenly matched these players are, and I fully expect to see a great match here in Game 2, and hopefully a Game 3.
I think if you're Wolf, you've got to be feeling really good, though, right? Like, that was the game.
Yeah, that was a game he probably should have lost, but he ended up winning that, so he's got to be feeling really good. But at the same time, he is kind of at a team disadvantage, so Justin can't let this loss get to him.
Right.
He's got to try and recognize what his win condition is. It's the Amoonguss paired with the proper Pokemon.
Yeah.
He needs to get it in at the same time that he has the likes of Xerneas in, the likes of Salamence in. That way he can redirect attacks. Bronzong's not going to want to set up Trick Room against Amoonguss, so it does have safeguards, so there is always that. But even still, the Rage Powder really protects his ally Pokemon. I would love to see him play more around that Amoonguss than he did in that previous game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels like, Justin made some plays that maybe could have been a little bit better at a couple of different points, but he still was in, he had the game won if it weren't for timer there.
Yep.
And timer is a win condition that obviously everyone has to play accordingly. You do get the full 45 seconds, and you can take as much time as necessary. Yep. So this is a big deal here. I think if you're Justin, though, you can't, like you said, let that get to you, because this matchup is honestly heavily in your favor. Like, I really feel like Justin has the right tools to win this matchup. He just needs to, maybe think about his long-term game plan a little bit.
Exactly. That's so big. But when you're going up against a player like Wolf, who he's a superstar, he's been playing for ages, and then you lose game 1, it can start to creep into your mind, especially because if you lose, you're out. So Justin really needs to stay focused, stay calm, because he does have a team advantage here against Wolf. He's just got to recognize his outs and then play to it.
Absolutely. So we are going to get into the second game. Wolf Lake is 1 game away from moving on into the top 4. Meanwhile, Justin's going to have to win the next 2 games if he wants a chance to advance into the semifinals. Both players at this point have already won their share of, I think they both won $3,000 and some additional Worlds prizing, but, Wolf is someone who wants the title. He doesn't want to just end here. He wants to finally prove himself and win the World Championship.
Yeah, Wolf's playing for the prestige here. He wants to win, just like all players do, but Wolf, he's been at it for so long, and he's come so close. When you come so close to tasting victory, it just makes you want it even more. These other players haven't been able to advance as far as Wolf has at the world stage, so, that gives Wolf, he's hungrier for the title than these other players. Not that these other players don't want it too. It's just Wolf. He's been there. He knows what it's like to come so close.
I mean, out of all the players in that top cut, I think Wolfie, this is his third top cut appearance and his third top 8 appearance. So few players in the world can say they've done that. I believe in the Masters division, it might just be Wolf, you, and Sejun. So, very, very limited group, and Wolf, is going to try to draw on that experience. He hasn't been able to pull it off in the last 2 times, but we saw Sejun Park, right, in 2014. After losing 3 times in Top Cut, finally be able to pull it off in 2014. So Wolf Glick, will he be able to finally also accomplish that?
Yeah, it's actually a great point. This is very similar to Sejun because Sejun lost in the finals in 2011 Worlds, then he made top 8 in 2013 Worlds, then finally was able to win in 2014. That's kind of the same path Wolf followed by getting top 8 before, finals before, and now this is his chance. This is his moment.
So we are going to get into the second game. Wolf Glick is 1 game away from advancing on into the semifinals. Justin Karras is going to need to win the next 2 games. We're going to see Raichu and Rayquaza come out for Wolf, and Salamence and Amoonguss come out for Justin.
I like that because Justin's showing that he does recognize that his win condition is pairing this Amoonguss with something that can, take advantage of the Rage Powder. However, Rayquaza does, of course, threaten Amoonguss and Raichu as the fake out support to prevent Salamence from maybe, knocking Rayquaza down to its Focus Sash. But, do you want to lose Amoonguss this early? Because it is such a key to the victory here. Do you want to just keep Amoonguss in, or do you want to switch out and maybe protect your Salamence? I don't know if Justin really has a good switch in to a Rayquaza Dragon Ascent, so he might not want to go for that. If he did bring Bronzong, that would certainly be an option to bring in here.
Right. Another question is, can Rayquaza knock out the Amoonguss? It is at -1 attack. It doesn't have a life or a choice band item, and it is intimidated. So we're going to see the Salamence Mega Evolve here. No switch outs coming from either Pokemon. So Salamence here is going to be able to get a little speed increase and get some more damage output as well. Rayquaza goes for the Protect here. Justin shaking his head. Let's see, or nodding, I would say, as Raichu does go for the Nuzzle onto the Salamence.
Is big.
Oh my gosh.
Unless he's got Bronzong in the back to set up Trick Room, that is huge. Oh, and I don't know if that really mattered as much because Rayquaza...
and the Spore into Rayquaza, everything going wrong there.
Yeah, not a good turn at all for Justin.
I think if I'm Wolf, I'm so happy I got that Nuzzle off. Salamence is by far the biggest issue.
Was... Yeah, exactly. Because it is exactly because he's faster than Rayquaza. He's got a massive defense, so Rayquaza can't knock it out. If you pair it with Amoonguss, Kyogre's never going to be able to Ice Beam it, while your Double Edge just does so much damage to Kyogre. Justin really... He needed to keep Salamence from getting paralyzed.
Yeah, that's a big, turn 1 that happens. And the reason why is, it's rare to see a turn 1 that really results in such a negative position right from the start. Even though it's just the paralysis, that paralysis just means so much when you've got Kyogre and Rayquaza, which are naturally slower.
Yeah, I agree.
And so we are going to see the Bronzong switch in here as Raichu's going to go for the Volt switch onto the Salamence. So Wolf, once again, doing the whole switching thing where, he's able to just really think things out and get safe switch-ins. Amoonguss here at least could maybe get a Spore off, but at what cost?
At a huge cost, because Salamence, he's paralyzed. That was the win condition that Justin, I thought he recognized that by pairing it with Amoonguss, but he just let it get paralyzed when he needed it to be faster than the Kyogre, then the Rayquaza. Now, of course, if he does have Bronzong in the back, that certainly gives him an option. But against Wolf's own Bronzong, if he does set up Trick Room, Wolf can always reverse it. Right,
we're going to have to see if we get substantial damage onto this Kyogre, because if you eliminate Kyogre, at least you only force Wolf to have 1 big offensive threat. Spore does come out, is going to target down the Bronzong slot, also not the Pokemon you want to be putting to sleep right now. I think Kyogre is a lower potent threat for sure.
Yeah,
and it has the Lomberry.
Yeah.
Just gravy on top of that one.
Yeah. If you're Justin, you're not feeling great here, but you can always redirect the incoming Ice Beam with Amoonguss and then go for a Double Edge on Kyogre if Wolf, lets it happen. But of course, Raichu would be a very safe switch in here, so I don't expect Wolf to just let his Kyogre get Double Edge so easily.
Yeah, I do want to point out that it's still far from over by any means, but the other issue is that Bronzong is looking pretty strong. However, of course, Justin still has his 2 restricted Pokemon in the back. Salamence is actually probably the best Pokemon, but the restricted Pokemon are still pretty good in this matchup.
Yeah, and even Xerneas paired with Amoonguss, if that's what Justin has in the back, is still very devastating against Wolf's team.
Absolutely. So we do see the Bronzong switch out into the Rayquaza. Here's the Rage Powder. Kyogre doesn't go for a Water Spell, it's just going to go for an Ice Beam, but as we saw, it's going to do around 50% to that Amoonguss, just over. And no freeze and a full paralysis.
That one's big because you have to imagine that was a Double Edge targeting down the Kyogre that, probably wouldn't have picked up the knockout, but it would have done a lot of damage to Kyogre, putting it in KO range from just about anything to follow up with.
That's a pretty heartbreaking one, and I think if you're Justin, you can't let that get to you right now because you're already down 0-1 to one of the best players in the world, and this is your kind of season on the line. It's your chance to become the best in the world. I think if you're Wolf, you've got to be feeling really good, but you also know this matchup is so difficult. You still need to consistently play well.
Yeah, but you've got a full HP Rayquaza with Focus Sash intact. You've got an almost full HP Kyogre, and both your Pokemon are faster than both of Justin's Pokemon, and you threaten KOs on each of them. So just not a good position for Justin. He can't safely switch out into one of his other Pokemon here. It's way too risky. He'll take too much damage. He just has to let his Pokemon go down and just hope that if he's got Xerneas in the back, that somehow he can just come up with a Xerneas sweep. We've seen it before from players down 4-2.
Yeah. But I think you might also maybe want to protect your Amoonguss here at least to get a Rage Powder off. But it looks like we are just going to see a Rage Powder coming out from that Amoonguss. Not going to go for a Protect, so maybe Justin just going to give up both of his Pokemon. Dragonson's going to come out from Rayquaza, going to be able to knock out that Amoonguss, and because Rayquaza doesn't have Life Orb, it's not even going to have to take any recoil damage, still conserving its Focus Sash. So everything is going perfectly for Wolf. Once again, Salamence and Amoonguss, the two key Pokemon, not being able to do anything.
Yeah,
the Ice Beam is going to come out. Air Current,
it'll still pick up the knockout, though, unfortunately, for Justin.
It comes out, and that's going to be a knockout there onto the Salamence. So Wolf's up 4-2 now, and this is super, super tricky.
Yeah, I think his only win condition here is Xerneas, and then somehow get the Geomancy up. Maybe if it's an Infernape, you can fake out. But nope, we see the Kyogre and the Xerneas. You do have two restricted Pokemon here, which is always good. But we saw from the last battle, Justin's Kyogre is not faster than Wolf's. And of course, Rayquaza being faster than Xerneas can do massive damage before Xerneas even gets to attack, and then Rayquaza has Focus Sash, so it can't even be knocked out in one hit.
Just not a good position here if you are Justin, and it's just you have such a good team advantage, but the thing is, team advantages don't mean anything if you're not able to fully utilize it. And Wolf, you see why he's such a good player. He identified exactly what he needed to do. He realized Salamence is the main issue. Let me just try to go for the process, even if it doesn't work out. At least I'm still not in the worst of positions, and he actually did get it off.
Yeah, there was no risk to what Wolf was doing because he was in a pretty good position. Even if Raichu had Assault Vest, even if it did, get attacked by something, it wouldn't have cared. Rayquaza, of course, also has a Focus Sash just in the worst case scenario.
Yep.
Wolf went switching in and out. Bronzong, always good to bring in against Justin's leads. But the Nuzzle ended up working.
And Dragon Ascension just going to come out. No Protect coming from at any Pokemon, or no switches. Wolf's got to be chasing top 4 right now. Dragon Ascent's going to come out. It's going to target down that Kyogre, so maybe Xerneas can pull something off. We're going to have to see who's faster between Xerneas and the Kyogre, as that Rayquaza is going to get its defenses decreased. Xerneas does get the Geomancy off, so at least that's something, but you've still got to be worried when there's a Bronzong in the back and a Raichu that could potentially paralyze you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Justin, the Geomancy's nice. It's really his only way to come back here, but it's going to be up to his Kyogre, being able to take whatever Wolf's Kyogre throws at it and just get some damage out. But full power Water Spout, almost full power. But not enough.
The issue now, this Kyogre does get a Water Spout in return.
It does break the Focus Sash, though.
It does, and actually I think that's a pretty big deal. Another play that obviously could have happened was if Justin just protected his Kyogre and went for a Geomancy with Xerneas, but obviously you risked the kind of Dragon Ascent target into there. But I think at this point in the game, you maybe needed to go for a gamble. At least the Focus Sash is broken, but we kind of have a 50-50. Does Kyogre protect and does Rayquaza protect? Of course, Rayquaza's going to want to Extreme Speed that Kyogre, which would be really helpful. But if Kyogre protects the Extreme Speed, then Xerneas can just knock out Rayquaza with the Dazzling Gleam.
Yeah, exactly. So, Justin still in this because Wolf's back Pokemon, if Justin is able to keep his Kyogre alive while knocking out the Rayquaza and the Kyogre, that does give him outs because Kyogre would be able to do massive damage to Bronzong later, and Xerneas would be faster than Raichu. Raichu does have Assault Vest, so it may not be able to get taken down by Justin's boosted Xerneas. But if it is, that lets Kyogre take out the Bronzong, and Xerneas able to clean up the rest of Wolf's Pokemon. But again, that's being very, hoping for the best.
But the Extreme Speed comes out. No Protect coming out from Kyogre. We saw it did more than enough last time. Can it pick up the knockout? It does, and now it's Xerneas against the world, and normally that would be okay, but the Bronzong.
But there's a Bronzong in the back, so Justin really did need to keep Kyogre around. Tried to go for a prediction there, didn't work.
And you'd imagine if he did protect the Kyogre there, then you knock out the Rayquaza, and your Kyogre still threatens whatever comes in. I guess, however, you know, at least Wolfie, if the it's still like a little bit tricky, but I guess like, you know, at this position it's basically over. You know, Wolf's also got time on his side, but you know, with the Bronzong in the back, Gyro Ball should be enough to knock it out.
Yeah, Gyro Ball would definitely knock it out from this point. And you've got the fake out pressure from Raichu.
And Wolfie Glick advances to the top 4 at the 2016 Pokemon Video Game World Championship.